Committee of the whole. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, give the roll call.
Alderman Carr.
Here.
Alderman Roll.
Here.
Alderman Johnson. Alderman Montoya. Alderman Rita. Alderman Fairwell.
Here.
Alderman McGee.
Plus means form, Mr. Clerk's. All right, any public comment? Any public comment?
John Staub, 2301 Torrance Street in the great city of Blue Island. I want to thank the mayor and city council for all that you do for our city. It's a job that takes up time, sacrifice, and many times unthanks. No thanks. So thank you very much for all you do for the city. I also wanted to thank the Neighborhood Watch folks that informed me of the boil water order that was recently issued in the city of Chicago, and I know that kind of filtered into Blue Island, and I was glad that I was informed. I'm not on Facebook. I don't know where to go to find information about it, so I'm glad that they kind of informed me of the issue. I was just a little concerned about the fact that the communication, there's a lot of misinformation, there was a lot of confusion and so on. And I just, I want to encourage the city council to review this situation and make sure that the residents are informed about what's going on. I think that's the main issue right here. So I just want to encourage that, you know, there was a lot of misinformation. We're wondering, should we boil water? Should we not boil water? How serious is it? It seems to me, it appears to me that it wasn't a high level emergency, which is good for all of us. But I think it brings up a question about, you know, where are we as far as preparedness as a city and the administration, as far as, you know, what happens in the cases of natural disasters such as like a tornado. Yeah, we have a tornado warn that works now, but what happens when the tornado hits and we're level, and how are residents informed of what to do, where to go for safe place, how to get help, and so on. And also, I think it's important to be mindful too, with this situation in our country, we have man-made disasters. We've seen that at the terrorist attacks of 9/11/01. Possible things can happen, and I'm thinking too of the photos you may remember of the East Palestine, Ohio train derailment, and the chemicals that were spilled out into the air and into the water, causing a very serious situation for the residents there. So I'm encouraging you folks to review the situation and see how we can better inform people, give them information so that we know what to do as residents. I really appreciate, you know, everything that you do as our representatives, but also I think we need to keep in mind that we need to protect our residents. That's one of your responsibilities. So appreciate you hearing my comment. Thank you.
Public comment, any public comment?
Hello. 12758 Southwestern on the corner of Old Fire Hospital. I just want to say thank you for the permanent parking spots finally that got put up, but I sure hope that they give you a lot of money for them, because you invested all this money to put signs everywhere. And I would like to know, a family friend came to visit their father after 30 years, never seen her dad. parked, I had a ticket there saying, Oak was provided a couple permanent things because the other ones weren't ready. But we still received the ticket. I just don't understand why they're issuing tickets when we didn't even get our pass to park there. Or my family or friends to come and visit, so I could put it on their car. Plus, even if they didn't have room to park there, okay, then you have to park on Western, I mean, but that's 1 hour parking. I'm like, that's not even fair, it's on Saturday and Sunday too. That, you know, maybe you guys can eliminate Sunday, at least one day or something. And then if I have a party or something, do I have to come to your house and get 15 tickets for all my people to park on your street? I mean, it's just something to think about. So I don't know what to do. I already received a $50 ticket on the 6th, which was on a Saturday, which was a holiday. I understand, but your permanent tickets weren't even ready to get one from you to say, okay, she can park there. So, on that day when we come to court, what happens when that day when we come to court? Do I come sooner to pay the ticket, or you give it to you to say, sorry that you got it? Or I don't know how you want to do this. Because it's not fair to us, you know, then we'll have to take our money and go somewhere else and not spend it in Blue Island because nobody can park here.
Yes.
Right.
Any other public comments? I should have said it again, I know they all want to remind me, public comment, just public comment, so if there's no discussion or answering of questions, if there's concerns, we can talk after the meeting or one of the department heads that are sitting here at the meetings. Police department, raise your hand. And the fire department. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you again for giving us resident parking on Oak Street. I have a couple of issues. One, I'm not gonna name a name, but the resident across the street from me decided that she no longer wanted the resident parking sign on her parkway. So she removed it. So that's one. So I need another one. I know I can talk to Mike about that, but it's hard with taking care of my mom and running around and so on and so forth. Two, I made, which Rayanne knows, and I gave one to Mark. I made my own little pass for people that do not live in Blue Island, that are visiting, that do not have a city sticker. Because years ago, we did have passes that were purple. And it said visitor parking. And you would just put your address or your name of the person that you were visiting. And again, given the fact that it was, you know, a holiday weekend, I did have visitors, and one of my visitors did receive a ticket, which.
And I did have that ticket on my wall. Yeah. Okay.
So I made these. Couple reasons, because I was putting cones out and you guys kept taking my cones, which is fine, because we have residential only parking now. But again, this was done on the weekends, and I know the community officers, that's like one of their main jobs to do. But during the week, there's like nobody to be found. Besides that, I just want to thank the city and especially Rayanne for working with us Blue Island Stray Group Project and our doggies. She is getting together. Thank you very much, Doggy Parade. That is going to be in October, so I appreciate that. And to let you know, our next big fundraiser is going to be August 17th at the Rock Island Pub House. That is where we do most of our fundraisings for the Blue Island Stray Dogs. I personally am going to be looking to go to Blue Island businesses to see if they will donate, you know, something like Port Vegas. Maybe they'll donate, I don't know, wine or something. Rayanne, I do want to talk to you about talking to the Garettos and your brother about lyric stuff, if I can. So that's a big fundraiser that actually supports the Blue Island Stray Dogs, as we all know. The stray dogs that come in that are abandoned or just neglected or left at the fire station many times. We, the volunteers, walk them, feed them. I personally wash all their blankets so that they have nice soft blankets, so they feel homey. They come in my backyard. I have a doggy pool set up for them, so it's something that is very, very positive in the community. And I'm very appreciative of Chief Farr for allowing us to do this. He didn't have to, and he did it, which is amazing. So that's it. So I need another sign and asking about, parking passes, if you guys have come up with something. I know something was being worked on. I don't know the status of that, but there are people that come and visit that, may need a parking pass that says, I don't live here if they're here for a few days, because, it might be an emergency, and I know they say to call the police department and say, John Smith's car is gonna be parked at 2420 Oak Street, there's his license plate number. But if there's like an emergency or something, quite honestly, for me, there's always some kind of emergency, because I have an elderly mother. I don't want to see somebody that's coming to help me that is not a resident get a ticket. So just food for thought. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Good evening. Ron Bloom, 2421 Walnut, proud resident of Blue Island for over 36 years now. I've not been to one of these meetings, so forgive me if I don't follow protocol, whatever it may be, but I appreciate the fact that you have it. So there's just a few items that I wanted to cover. First of all, thank you for all the work that went into the parade. It's, I'm sure, hundreds of hours of work, lining people up, getting everything done. If ever there was a time that this country needed a 4th of July parade, it's now. So thank you, one and all, to everybody that was involved in that. I hope you do a survey, for people's input for what could be done next year. One thing that I wanted, two things that I wanted to add. One, again, I want to nod to police and fire, our EMS folks, for being there for not only Blue Island, but the surrounding area. It's so important. The times that we're in, to know that we are protected. There's another contingent of 911 though, that even if it's a sign on the side of a truck or maybe a float, but that's those folks that answer the 911 calls. I work in the 911 field, and I will tell you that right now, on average, it's a 40% gap in having full staffing of 911 call takers nationally. That's a huge issue. Technology helps some of that, AI will help some of that, but having something in the parade that at least calls out for more information, or thank you 911, there is a whole promotion, thank you 911 for that, would be good. And then at the very end, after we had our fire department, it would be good to have just some kind of a banner. Whoever wanted to join it, thank you for coming to Blue Island, thank you for supporting our community. Just as kind of a closure, I think people would appreciate, because there were thousands of people there. And again, it was just, I thought really, really good. So thanks to all for your work on that parade. Just a little bit, again, the boil order, that was something new for all of us. And I do appreciate the consideration for how can we do things differently. I'm not on Facebook. I looked on the city website, I didn't see anything. I often look at the city website when there's special meetings for zoning and planning. I don't see that. That's a vehicle that would be good to use as well. I did get an emergency alert system, something from the city that told me the boil was lifted. I never got the initial one, but I think I got it about 2 hours ago. So, it's not easy for anybody when that happens, but to the point that was made, we have big rail yards here, right? They just had tankers derail in Matson. It could happen here. Other things could happen here. So happy to participate in any of those discussions. I know lots of folks in the industry, I'm sure, that would be happy to participate as well. Speeding is still an issue. It's interesting because I don't know why Walnut, and I'm only going to speak about Walnut, but I think it's others from what I've heard others, side streets, going east to west, going over to Gregory. I know everybody's tired of hearing me talk about speeding, but the reality is it's a safety issue. And what's interesting, and it really kind of picked up in COVID, the alley that runs alongside our building is used very heavily for deliveries for cars. And again, there is no speed limit. We don't have any speed limit signs on Walnut. There's no speed limit, cautions. Thankfully, years ago, we had a stop sign put up in the alley, which I know is unusual, but usually people don't pay attention to it unless I paint the white stripe by the stop sign. Then you'll see some people stop, which is really odd. But speeding is an issue, and I know that there's some speed humps in the city. I'd like you to consider that. I did a Google map, and you could do this too on MapQuest, from somewhere southeast to 2423 Walnut. And one of the delivery drivers showed me on his phone, it takes you right down that alley. It doesn't take you to Walnut, to Greenwood. It doesn't take you anywhere. It's right down that alley. So that's part of the problem that we're seeing, is that even though it's an alley, it's the shortest route to that. So, and we're coming up on Jeanette King, Penny's anniversary. I also want to say thank you to the city for allowing the decoration for the tree to commemorate Penny. She was such a beloved soul in our community. And thank you so much for the decorations that you do. She means a lot to us. But again, that didn't have to happen. That was a driver that was distracted, that was speeding. Again, speeding is really a prevalent issue. We're a walking community. We have elderly people, we have children, we have pets running around, and it seems to me the problem's getting worse and not better. And then lastly, parking, as was said, I appreciate the consideration for the residents. When there's exceptions for that, also appreciate the opportunity to come to City Hall and say, hey, look, this is what happened. This is why we got the ticket, and handle it that way. But we're still seeing employees of Cook County that are parking on Walnut Street. People going to the Cook County Center and parking on Walnut Street without getting tickets. So at a minimum, maybe something could be sent to the health center to kind of reinforce the expectation that employees will park in the designated areas. I know it's hard to manage people coming and going, but anything we can do to help that, I think, would not only help improve the parking situation, but those that are violators, parking tickets are parking tickets. And it's an opportunity to kind of reinforce, the rules that we have. So again, I just want to say thanks for all you do. It's not easy running the city. I would submit that it's more of a challenge running a small city as it is to a big one, because we have limited funds. But thank you for the improvements that you're making through the city. It's looking really good. I see you're doing the curbs. I hope that the crosswalks will be next, because that adds some charm to the city as well. So I'm available if I can help in any way. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Moving on to item A, public safety registrations.
So we were looking at ways to deal with nonprofits that are renting rooms throughout the city after the Salvation Army incident, and what type of resolution the community could use, what we could do, et cetera, to ensure that if anyone is renting facilities or using banquet halls, et cetera, even if they are a nonprofit or a church, that we know who they are, know what they're doing, they're at least registered with us, we have contact information, and some way to regulate that type of thing. So the first thing in your packet is a public safety registration certificate. This is an example of how one municipality does it. It does not charge nonprofits, but it does require them to register with the city. It's called, they do it with the police department. They provide contact information and hours and things like that. So it would be for every nonprofit. I think it also, this community did for multi-unit houses and things like that. Sometimes you don't have like direct contact for a multi-unit house. So that's one example of a possibility. Next in your packet is our zoning code. If you look 3 pages in, banquet hall is defined. It's defined as, a building or a portion, the principal use of which is for events which are hosted for one-time, special, or for occasional events. It goes on to describe it even further. This definitely would have, included what Salvation Army was doing in their rental room. But they did not obviously seek the zoning, because they were the nonprofit and they were already allowed in there. Also zoning doesn't require them to be licensed with the city, it's just a zoning requirement. If you look a little further into the zoning code, banquet halls are special uses and only in the C2 and UTOD district. And finally, if you look at our business licensing code, which I threw in there for you guys, our business licensing code relates only to commercial establishments. So obviously, we define a commercial establishment in our code as any person, company, firm, partnership, or corporation chartered and licensed within the state for the purpose of making profit. So that leaves out all our nonprofits that are engaging in commercial activities, such as rental facilities, banquet halls, etc. So we could also update this business licensing to require business licensing for rental facilities and banquet halls, add in nonprofit establishments. We're not saying that we need to charge any of the nonprofits for anything, but we would require them to go through a similar process as for-profit businesses if they are renting rooms or, engaging in banquet type facilities. That way we have a way to regulate that business that the nonprofit is doing, even if it's for non-profit purpose. So we have several options, and I was just providing you guys with the options to get some feedback on what you wanted to do. Obviously, the first option would require a whole new process, the public safety application. The second would solely be an amendment to our code for business licensing. But it would now require us to get the word out to all the nonprofits, et cetera, that they would need to be licensed, not at a cost, but they need to do something every year to provide the information to the city.
I'm in favor of the general idea, sure. I would ask that, we contact, before we do this, we contact, maybe we have a few of these nonprofits, Salvation Army being obviously one, others, just to get their input, to make sure that we're not doing anything that they would find really harmful. And they may have some good ideas also that we think about, so I think that input would be helpful as we go about this process.
Comments? My comment is, I think we need to do it, otherwise we have no repercussions to the situation that happened at Salvation Army. Plus, it gives another avenue to check for insurance, just like we do for any business license, we do check for insurance and liability. We have no avenue to check any of that right now, so nothing on our codes asking if Salvation Army has general liability insurance. So we had to stop that just for that purpose alone. I'm in favor of charging anything, but just make it part of the process where we do for all businesses registered with the city. Just for very minimum that they would follow the same process of the charge just to verify the liability. So I would highly suggest we have very minimum to do that. Going through the process, like I think on a community zoning meeting that's following us tonight, Ozak Lodge, for example, they I revoked their special use and they're reapplying. We'll see how that goes. I was wait till planning zoning has input on that. My general opinion is right now, most of the churches and stuff, they allow parishioners of that church to use their facilities, and they don't advertise, hey, rent St. Benedict's Hall for your next bar mitzvah or something, whatever. They just use it for parishioners, their own events. It's kind of been in Blue Island history, that's the way it's always been, and it's been kind of controlled that way by individual parishes. You drive past any one of these churches and they rent a hall. So it's never really been an issue. So more recently, where like Ozak has recently started renting out the facility to outside of their organizations, Salvation Army, we found recently in the last few years, they started renting it outside of their normal people that worship at their center. So I think at the very least we need to do some kind of regulations, like our attorney says the other towns are starting to do this already. some of our neighboring towns, there's no fees involved, but at the very least, there's some tax taxes. So I agree with all the general, we can take a little poll, I know from the two churches I'm very involved with, they're not gonna care about this because it's a costly thing. And, they're already contacting a good relation with our police department, I think anytime they have more than 50, 60 people, they call for a police officer. So we just wanna put some stuff into the fact where there's something in the books to verify in case something like this happens again. Something we can do, follow up, saying, hey, you can't have any more rentals, right now, there's nothing on this thing.
Can we, fire, police officer? People,
I throw out an idea over 100, so that's what a lot of our churches do now, St. Donatus, St. Patrick's, they would like fish fries.
what about like Eagles Hall? Or just gonna be-
That's something we can discuss, that's an idea that we can put in there, but at the very least, I start with liability concern, we can address that, and then that's individual situation with numbers of people, that's one of the first things I threw out when this happened. How do you guys feel about it? Alvin, roll first.
Yeah, I think I support the licensing, at least just to check for adequate liability insurance. I think on that note, would we make a distinction for, let's say, a church doing food drive? So you have people from the public coming in, maybe sitting and having a hot meal before meeting. Would we then require a church to have liability insurance for both those sort of things? As distinct from something like a, hopefully,
For a baptism or a wedding.
well, and I guess that's another question, if it is just a parishioner event, is that distinct from one that the public is coming in?
I think so, or I think maybe we could make it distinct.
Okay.
Because if the church is hosting a food drive, it's their church, they should be able to host a food drive, right? But if the church is now renting to someone, outside their community for a birthday party or something like that, and they're allowing them to bring food and drinks in, that's when we need the regulation.
Okay, thank you, yeah, I agree with that completely.
I think when I was talking to our planning zone chair, with this OZAC situation, we had that conversation that you can't really tell them you can't have people use your building for a nonprofit organization. Same if you want, but it's definitely not that fair. But if it's a member event, it's a member event. They shouldn't be broadcasting that they're renting out the facility without following the same regulations that for-profit banquet halls follow. So you want to start putting at least something together for next week, the liability of it, and we can take a poll. All the rules.
Sorry, this might be a bit far afield, but, for churches that sort of rent the space to another church, is that something that's currently already covered as a special licensing or something like that? So.
There's
Nothing. That's where we want to start knowing what's going in.
Okay.
I'm just curious, we're talking about liability insurance, I would, maybe I'm wrong, but I would think that churches like Cleveland County has liability insurance already, it seems like they kind of keep it.
You would think so.
Yeah, I think so.
There's a lot of churches out there that are one.
Well, they're small,
churches.
I understand it's.
They're not part of a big umbrella organization like the Archdiocese or the it's called, but Synod.
Yeah.
There's some individual churches, their only location and the pastor.
And the Salvation Army too, they came to meet us, the Monday after this incident, and they agreed to shut down their banquet facility. They did that by agreement. Had they not, we would have no actual laws on the books to have enforced, or to enforce that close for the time being. So they are now agreeing to stay closed until we, the city, figure out what rules and regulations we're gonna put in place.
Next on the community development, business grant application, it really hasn't been updated since me and Tom fully updated it. So it's been at least 4 years. And times have changed, prices have gone up, and that fund, just to give you background, so we collect, let's say, the 1 cent, 1%, business district. 10% of that is automatically transferred to a facade grant program. That is a lockbox line item that can't be used for anything else but reimbursables to business owners for their facade grant improvements. I think, don't quote me, there's hundreds of thousands in this line item. Nobody's applying for this. Even me and the clerk walked the other day with applications in hand. to 6 business owners we met with that do not have signs on their businesses at all, but they've been there for 20, 30 years. There's the nutrition center, the nail salon next to Old Passport, Franklin Framing doesn't have a sign. Lillian's Antiques, State Farm Agency doesn't have a sign. You can drive it past, Alexa Beauty Salon. All of them said the same thing. I said, we pay 75%. And actually, there was language in here that we pay 2,000 for signage, which we hardly ever emphasize, but that's part of my speaking tonight. And some of these businesses have the old awnings that were put up in the 60s and 70s as part of the urban renewal that was terrible in today's day and age. So, like the nutrition lady, for example, she's like, I'm barely making even $200. I'm not gonna do it. People know I'm here. I'm making just enough. I don't want to do it, So I'm doing a little bit of something radical here, and part of that is that money's there, and it can only be spent for this, and it keeps piling and rolling over on each other, and we're not spending more than comes in. So the language in the application, outside of some language like community development doesn't exist anymore, so we have to change it to administration. But the amount of reimbursements, there was $1,000 in material improvements was a minimum. Believe it or not, some of them don't even cost $1,000. So I think some of the ones they added, the gooseneck lighting, were like $700. Now, we were doing it because, again, there's a surplus in here, but let's take that language out. There's no reason to have these constraints in here.
It's just not, I'm just a little confused by it. So we match 75%.
Right now, perfect.
Right, so if somebody was gonna spend $1,000, we get the $700.
Yeah, but then we wouldn't get the $1,000 that they have to spend.
Oh, I see.
It's a redundant, it's a language.
Oh, yeah, get rid of it.
We haven't even, I don't think we were watching the Secret Thomas charge again, because it's too restrictive.
Yeah.
And then, we raised it from 50 to 75%, which was great. We had a lot more use in this. I'm asking to raise it to, 7,500 to a cap of 10,000 for applicants. And the signage is specific, signage, I would like to do a $10,000, no match for signage that's approved by our code and zoning. So that the beauty salon and so that old aluminum awning, that's significant. Take that down, it's gonna be $5,000. Library's taking it down, probably talk pointing involved, new signage. At least you might be able to entice more people to apply. So that's my suggestion, knowing the fact that money's lockbox, we can't do anything else.
And I would suggest maybe even going one step further. At $10,000 generally seems like a good limit, but maybe there would be a provision where with an application and maybe it would go to PBZ, I don't know, where somebody to look at a larger proposal with maybe more restrictions on it or some conditions, but there are conditions, there are, some buildings that really need a lot of help.
There is, and there's language, we use the same language for lyric.
Yeah.
If there's a substantial project, you can come to us at the committee, James,
Okay.
committee of the whole, and state your case.
All right,
And like we made provision for, I think, 2 people in my history as mayor, using that line, I don't know where it's at, Mark left here. There's a line here saying there's more allowed if it's, you've seen it first.
City council districts.
and I'm thinking of one of our dry cleaning establishments, there's a lot of work.
I know.
on that building.
And it's one of the ones I've been talking to.
Okay, so,
I'm there every week. So again, this is just more of enticement. We physically walk. That's what everybody's telling me. Now, Franklin, Greg already agreed. He's gonna do it on. That's gonna be 5,000. But some of these, they're not. So, and that's when you're driving down the street, you can visualize these, you can picture them now. There's 2 or 3 businesses in a row on the west side of the street, immediately south of York Street, that when you're driving by, they look like they're empty, but they're not. That nutrition place has been there 15 years, the nail salon's been there 23 years. No sign at all. I'm thinking of it. It looks like it's empty business. Yes. So it's just my recommendations. In the past, when we raised these last time, the administration has raised them. I wanted to bring it to you guys so you're aware of what's going on, and also recruit you guys to talk to business owners, to encourage them to do this. We literally walked somebody through this process. Like Tina G's, I physically, before Chris passed away, I met the awning company out there with them. I met Argio Electric out there and walked them through it. He just had a sign. So we will do that. I'm very passionate about this. I know you guys are passionate about this, and I think this would entice more people to take advantage of the tax money that they're putting into as it is. That's the purpose of this program. So if there's no objections, I'd like to update this. Overall,
Yeah, I'm fully in support of this, and just out of curiosity, how are we advertising?
as of right now, it's word of mouth and us going every, now when Jason Berry was here, we went to every single business. That was when it first started. We took a walk up and down Western, every business on 100.7. And when I took over as mayor, I did the same thing again. And then me and city clerk did all the businesses South 127 over the past couple of weekends. So it is a lot of word of mouth, but also here's my personal number, because this is like a project of mine. I want to work with you to get this done. And I think when the mayor's asking you to do something, we've gotten a lot of people saying, I'm gonna do it. So that's how we've been doing it. Now, I know we're updating our websites and everything else, working on putting this in with a package with our TIF stuff, working on our class application, which we recently approved.
That's what I'm saying.
This is on the website now, but it's not out
Yeah.
for.
And then, I have
I know that we're working on the TIF, application process. We did the six B application. We were updating this. We'd like to do a package that every time comes to the building department. Bob currently is passing these out. Any new business coming in now, he does, he passes these out, because he knows it's important to me, and he passes this out. Is we're not getting a lot of feedback, from just that happen.
Well, a lot of these are in my word, you got a package out there.
Okay, after we update these, there's a couple of typos, but,
there's a couple on my desk.
yeah, but I'm gonna get these updated. I wanna make sure you guys are okay with it first, and then, yeah, by all means, we get some printed out. Yeah, perfect.
Now, can we use, I guess, some of that application just to advertise? Like, we wanted to create a simple guidebook, digital on the website, but even a handout, so we can do for license.
100% come out of the business district fund. I'm not sure if it come out of this line item.
Okay. But I mean, I wouldn't mind making a more considered effort to get that information out, but I mean, even if you don't have a business in Lyme, it might be easy enough to consider it.
Yeah, like another one that's gonna be Devon's Hardware Sign Restoration, working on it. They're going through this program right now. They would not have done it. They start falling down. You have to wear it, start falling down. We immediately did emergency action, take it down. Without this program, they wouldn't have saved us up. And we're gonna get that rehauled. It's a piece of Royal history, but businesses, again, they need every help they can get. And reiterate Alder Johnson's and our comments for the tax bills that they're receiving now too. Yeah, anything we can do to help them, there is money in this fund for, it without us doing any, other than advertising and increasing the amount they can get, they deal with pricing.
Are we able to get the chamber involved in this? I mean, they're contacting because they come in.
I already talked to them. They said, once we got the new form, they're gonna send out a blank email to all the businesses on the list. So that's already happened. There's waiting for us to do. All right, mayor's announcements. I know my administration is gonna discuss the oil order stuff, and the reverse 911 smart home system that we do have in place that might need tweaking. Speed humps, I mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again in case there are people that are asking about the speed humps. This council has made a recommendation, every new street that goes in, that's more than a block long, will get a speed hump installed. That's already a policy in the city. The streets that were done, recently, they come back and put the humps in afterwards. So every new street that's more than a block long is gonna get a hump to separate that. And we made that decision at the beginning of last year's program. That's why you see like the ones on Island we just put in, I think a few weeks ago, we did Island. They have to come back and do Union. They haven't done the Union ones because I published the Union's curves, so they can put breaks. They got to count the curves and raise them through the punch list, but that's what we're already doing. So if you guys remember, we had that conversation. If anybody asks going forward, yes, that is our current standing policy. The speed humps, we did 3 years ago by Wall and high school were a success. So after that, we made a decision going forward. Every block that's more than, every pavement that's more than a block long, we're gonna put the humps in. And we might go back, which I know on a few streets without saying what they are, the ones that were done my first year here, they're new enough where they can go put the humps in. Those are already on the schedule to be done too. So I have a mayor's comment, city clerk.
Just some save the date, the Park District has a yoga, Mondays and Wednesdays. We're having a movie night this Friday night at 7:30. July 19th, they have a sandcastle build-off. And yes, July 27th is National Hot Dog Day from 11 to 2, celebrate at Memorial Park. Citywide garage sales, July 26th, 27th, and 28th. The Light Parade fundraiser is July 26th. August 4th, the Park District and the city will be working with the Lyric to present wreaths, car show, and some things at York and Western. August 6th is National Night Out in front of City Hall. August 7th through 11th is St. Donata's Carnival. August 16th is the Blue Island Fire Department Local 3547 drop outing. September 28th is the Blue Island Health Fair. October 19th is the Halloween Stray Dogs and the City of Blue Island are doing a dog parade in the Meadows. And October 26th is Trunk or Treat. Wait, November 2nd is Day of the Dead. And we have a lot more things coming. That's that.
Thank you. No executive today. City administrator.
So just one subject real quick. Very much appreciate the comments from the gentleman from the public in regards to communication. So we've had two fairly sizable incidents over the past few weeks. Obviously, there was the Salvation Army incident. And then just the other morning, it was Tuesday morning, about 1:30 in the morning, is when we got contacted by both the City of Chicago Water Department and the Illinois Emergency Management Association, essentially telling us that this pumping station in Chicago had failed for 3 hours. I was already aware of it because I live in Beverly, and that definitely did need a boil order. We did get a little bit of garbled communications on the front end from both the city and IEMA as to whether or not the suburban areas, how affected were we and what was our obligation in terms of notification. So it was not pristine in terms of the communication. But we erred on the side of caution, and our Public Works Director, Mike Schroeder, Mayor, and myself, having conversations early hours in the morning. We erred on the side of caution, and we're being told by IEMA that we essentially did the right thing. That's Blue Island, Evergreen Park, Marionette Park were brought up in the conversation as having done the correct thing. And some other municipalities were brought up as potentially facing some violations moving forward. So, well, it's never pleasant to have to inform the public to, go, either boil water or get bottled water. It was the term we kept using out of an abundance of caution. But when we're dealing with water, abundance of caution is required. That said, it has brought to light something that has been on my mind for a little while now, but I think is very imperative, is that as we continue to evolve and kind of grow up here, one of the things that we need and don't have, and one that we just didn't have traditionally, is an on-paper crisis communications plan. That would be for the staff. Now, let me just say this, we do have, our police and fire and public works have performed in an excellent fashion through both of these events and through a lot of stuff in the time that we've been here. We do have good processes, and we do have good people, highly trained people on the ground ready to go in the case of an emergency, and I believe these last two events have shown that very well. That said, we do need to tighten up, improve, and more formalize the communication portion of this. So by that, I mean internally, administratively, what we're doing. Basically, I've written crisis communication plans before. So basically, we're going to define about a half dozen potential incidents that would be the types of things. So hazmat issue, mass shooting, boil order, water system failure, those types of things, and then just create an A, B, and a C of who's doing what and then what public front facing communications that we're doing, so that we're improving our speed, improving our rapidity, improving our frequency in terms of the communication side of this. In addition to that, the mayor mentioned the reverse 911 system. That is the system in which, as long as you opt in, then the city has the ability to immediately send a message to your cell phone. It is an imperfect system, but one of the things that we are going to aggressively be doing, and we're going to be asking Alderman and others to encourage the residents to do, is that system is only as good as its data. Right? It's only as good as how accurate and how modern the data is. So if we have your cell phone from 4 years ago and you've since changed numbers, then, someone in Winnetka getting that message is going to be super helpful for us. What we need is we'd be encouraging the public to make sure that you're signed up for this program and letting them know that it is for the sole purpose of providing notification in the case of emergencies. I know in the past it was misused at times, so maybe some people were kind of turned off by it because it was used for non-emergencies. We are only intending to use this for when we absolutely need the public to know something. So we're going to be strongly encouraging a lot more public participation in that. And we're open to ideas in terms of how we at the administrative level can better communicate with you, the alderman, in the cases of disseminated information. In this case, we did utilize our social media page. Obviously, our web page is a bit antiquated, but we're trying to use it. We think as part of the new website that we are currently in the process of developing. We're gonna have some better emergency notification capabilities through that. So we recognize that while our frontline responders have been excellent, that there is that these incidents have shown us the pathway to some improvements that we need to make. So that's all I have for you guys. You know, say. Thanks.
Want to mention the water line system situation?
Oh, I saw. Sacramento, yeah, okay, good call, thank you. Yes, so, some may recall that it was, several months ago, we had a discussion around the stretch of Sacramento, Plaza, right? And so we're in a 50-50 agreement with them to repave that street, right? What we encountered there, and the reason the mayor wanted me to bring it up, is what we are encountering there is what we are going to, now that we have paved a lot of streets that didn't have highly necessary sewer work under them. What we're encountering with this project is something we are going to be encountering probably every year from now until time immemorial, until for a long time. And that is this: we got a quote to fix the pavement, to repave the street. Great. Underneath that street is a stretch of main water line that is, Mike Schroeder couldn't be here tonight, but if he was, he would tell you it is held together by clamps and hope. Okay, it is.
Jerry Kozlowski, is one of the few, I don't remember, he was 30-year water department manager. He said there's 2 lines in the city that have to be replaced. That is over 20 clamps in one block.
It is,
All clamps.
it's Swiss cheese, right? So option A would be we pay $500,000 to repave the street, honoring our agreement with Eisenhower, and great, we have a new street. It will be a matter of weeks, months, not much longer, that we will be busting into that pavement to fix more lines. So it's $500,000 project to do the pavement. It is an additional $680,000 to do the water main. So what do? Do we now? Administratively, we have the money budgeted. It's going to set back some other things, right? We appropriated for various things in the water department. We're gonna have to shift our priorities a little bit. We're not gonna be able to do things to improve our water meter systems as fast as we would like. But at the end of the day, we're making a decision, which is we can't spend $500,000 of the taxpayers' money to lay concrete that we are going to start punching into within weeks of doing it, because that main will break again and again and again. So the responsible thing to do is to make the investment to fix the main. If I put on my political hat, I would tell you, we don't know, are we getting enough out of that for a $1 million expenditure? Probably not, but it's absolutely necessary. To not do so, we run risk of water pressure loss to parts of the high school. We run risk of water pressure loss to multiple blocks of homes. And we run the risk, quite frankly, of just wasting the taxpayers' money by papering over a huge problem, putting new tires on a car with no engine, basically. So it's really just informative as to where we're at and what we're going to be facing moving forward. The sewer, we're at the point now where streets that we take up, we have to consider what's underneath them, and what's underneath them is about 110% increase in cost on the project. So it is.
This is the first one that raised the red flag that we.
This is the worst of the worst, but sewers are expensive. And so it was just kind of one example is Mark and Mayor and myself were kind of working through this with Travis at Burke Engineering. And I said, wow, this is a lot more expensive than we thought it was going to be. So what's our options here? And really, well done. There's the only responsible option is to invest the money to make this fix. But we're doing that cognitively knowing it's just that this is one of 10 lines that need to be replaced. So that's 6.8 million right now. Right before we, so we're going to be chasing grant money. We're going to be chasing money in Springfield. We're going to be chasing money in Washington, D.C. We're going to be prioritizing our funding, but this is, if not the biggest infrastructure challenge the city faces in the next 10 years, it's certainly on the Mount Rushmore.
So I know that typically the water fund supposed to be sort of financially autonomous, but in circumstances like this, if we wanted to even to set some sort of capital plan aside to make sure we have a plan going forward to address this, are we constrained to just the money that's in the water fund, or are we able to fund our capital plan with that?
I mean, the council has the authority to appropriate what it wants to go where it wants.
Okay.
Right? Now, we're tied to our appropriation that we passed in March, right?
The other question is, the city in the past has bonded the water fund, which we have not done. We haven't taken any, we haven't borrowed anything, 3.5 years. We've been self-reliant, working with general fund. Revenue taken, but we have a very low debt ratio in the city of Black, so down the road. We have to probably look at some alternative revenue sources, either revenue bonds tied to the water fund that's coming in, which the city historically has always done. Or just a general bond tied to the city revenue and taxes. But these are all loans. Can we maintain 600,000 a year out of our general fund? As of right now, we probably can, but if it's two of them, then we got a problem.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to the, 911 situation for a minute. And, Tom, I really appreciate your outlining, clearly what the challenges are in terms of communications. I think it sounds like you got a handle on that. But I do want to reinforce, I want to thank John Steele for putting a really good and level-headed, assessment of the situation. My phone was really blowing up on Tuesday. We had a lot of back and forth. Our neighborhood watch captains were in touch with me. It was very frustrating that I could never really have accurate information to pass along to them. I was in contact with a number of people within the administration, kind of getting a different answer every time I did. And as you said, and I'm glad you said it, I thought, well, don't we have a book somewhere that people can pull off the shelf and say, now this is what you do? Apparently we don't. And that's, you said it, and I agree with you. It's a great concern. The city's first responsibility is public safety. So I do urge you to go at this, as aggressively as you can, because thank goodness, as the mayor said, as John said, it really turned out not to be a health hazard. So that was maybe a good wake up for us. Let's not wait till we do actually have a really bad situation in front of us to have a situation like that, because it could really be bad. So, anyway, but I do appreciate your addressing the issue when take it up. Just not as an aside to this, but as an additional comment, and as we look towards next year's appropriation, I really would like to look at our staffing situation within the city. I know you guys are all working real hard and doing really good stuff, so this is not meant as a criticism to anybody. I just don't think we have enough staff in some cases, and we do have enough money to hire maybe an additional administrative, maybe an additional person in building, whatever. Because I have issues in front of the city that I've had in front of the city now for months. And I know it's not for lack of, really being interested, but I know things are just stacked up on people's desks and it's not getting done. And there's some important things that aren't getting handled. So just, kind of file that away for next year's appropriation, and I'd like us to really be thinking about it. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? If not, we're going to executive. Is there any motion to adjourn? All the votes, all the journal, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?